and welcome to Craft with Sarah and day 9 of the Halloween Craft Countdown, where I'm sharing 20 brand new Halloween themed craft projects to make with a Cricut machine in 20 days. Today's project is a little bit inspired from one of the craft countdowns we did earlier in the year. When we did the card making countdown back in June, the most downloaded project out of all of the ones that were in that countdown were these decorative border SVGs. As you all love this project so much, I thought we'd do something similar with a spooky vibe for this Halloween countdown. But this time I'll teach you how to use them in a slightly different way. We covered various card making techniques back in June for the card making countdown, and this time I'm going to focus on teaching some of the tools and buttons in Design Space that you may not have had the opportunity to have a play with yet. Of course, you don't have to follow along with this. You can use these borders whatever way you want. But if you are going to follow along, here are the cards we'll be making. First up is this one. We're using the Spiderweb border, and then in Design Space, we'll use the text tool and the subtract feature to cut some of the wording out of the card front. Then after that, we'll start with a different one, and this one uses the contour feature to fill in some of the gaps in the top of the border, and it uses the offset feature to add the outlines around all of the layers. And then we'll put all of those tools and features together for card number 3, which is this one. So this uses all of those techniques. We've got text and subtract to cut out the word Halloween. We've got the offset to make it into a border around the edge. And the contour tool is still helpful for filling in any little gaps that might appear after you make the side edge version. So if you can see, this has got a fun side edge design to it that follows the shape of the borders. And we'll be introducing one more feature for this one, which is the weld tool, to join 2 of the borders together to cut from one solid bit of card. So if you've been looking at all of those buttons and tools in Design Space thinking, I just don't know how to use them, then this is a great step-by-step tutorial to introduce you to all of the wonders and amazingness of all of these buttons and how they can really transform your crafting by allowing you to take something like a 1-layer border like these and then combine them together with other elements to make something truly special. Let's get started. The files for this project are free for the next 24 hours. Here's how to download them. Register a free ticket for the Halloween Craft Countdown at craftwithsarah.com/HCC25. After registering, you'll get an email which contains a link to the schedule page for the countdown. Visit the schedule page to find and download today's files. Each download is only available for free for 24 hours after it goes live. If you've missed some, check out the Instant Access bundle at craftwithsarah.com/HCC25 bundle, which gives immediate and ongoing access to all of the files from the Halloween Craft Countdown, plus loads of extra bonus designs. Or purchase just this design at craftwithsarah.com/products. To find the designs from this countdown, click into the Occasions filter and choose Halloween. The designs will appear here each day once they become available to buy. The download comes in a zip folder. You need to unzip this before uploading the SVG files into Cricut Design Space. Once you've downloaded and unzipped the folder, it's time to get the SVG file into Cricut Design Space. Open up Design Space and start a new project, then click into Upload over on the left, and then Upload Image. You can then either click Browse to find a file on your computer, or drag and drop it in. Make sure you choose the unzipped version of the download folder, then go into the subfolder called Cutting Machine Versions. Within there, select the file that starts SVG in the file name. This contains all 6 of the border designs in one file, making it really easy for you to upload because they're all contained in just this one design. Press Continue, and then Upload. And that will insert them all onto your project. You can close out of this window by clicking the arrow that appears about halfway down the page. To separate out all of the borders so you can use them individually, press the Ungroup button at the top of the Layers panel. You can now choose whichever ones you want to use. You can resize them, recolor them, whatever you want to do. To give you some ideas, I've got 3 different greetings cards that I'm going to show you how to create from scratch in Cricut Design Space. Note that the finished greetings cards are not included with today's download. This is more of a tutorial to give you ideas of how you can be creative and make your own greetings cards using these border designs. We're going to start with a fairly easy design, then move on to a medium difficulty one, and then finally one that's a little bit more advanced, but you can still absolutely do it. First up, I'm going to use the Spiderweb design. So we'll drag a box around all of the other ones and delete them. To make a base card, go into Shapes over on the left and choose a square. I'm going to make a 5x7 inch landscape card. Click on the padlock between the width and the height box to open it up, and then you can type different measurements into each box. I'll need my width to be 7 and my height to be 10, so that when this is folded in half, it will be 5x7. And let's make it a nice bright orange for Halloween. If you have a scoring wheel or stylus, you can add a score line down the middle to make it easier to fold. Go back under Shapes, my window is still open, and click on the scoring line, which is the top one. Make it 7 inches and rotate it 90 degrees so that it's horizontal. Drag a box around the score line and the base card and press Align Center. That puts the score line in the middle. Then, with those 2 layers still selected, click the Attach button at the bottom of the Layers panel. Attach is what tells the Cricut we want it to do the scoring in this exact place. This is now appearing above my border, so let's go Arrange, Center Back, and then my border is already exactly 7 inches, which is the same as the card, so I can just roughly get that in place to see what it looks like. Next up, let's add some text. I want to cut some of my text out of my orange, and then one word I will cut from a separate piece of black cardstock so that I can stick it onto the front, either with glue or possibly some foam squares to add dimension, so it looks a little bit more exciting than doing everything as one cutout. If you've never used the subtract feature in Design Space, you're about to learn how to do it. Click into text, and then type have a, all in capitals. Let's close out of that Shapes menu. I want to cut this out of my orange. If I was to use a font like this, it means that I would lose the middle of my A's. They would also cut out and then have to try and glue them in place, and they would be very small and fiddly. So that you don't have to do that, you can use what's called a stencil font. If you've got the Cricut Access subscription, there are lots of these included. I'll also drop a link in the written version of this tutorial to where you can find alternative stencil designs that aren't in Cricut. But for this video, let's have a look in the Cricut dropdown. And then along the top, you can scroll through these options, and one of them is stencil. I'll click on that, and then it will filter to only show me stencil fonts. I'm looking for a nice, bold, thick font because it will be cut from cardstock, so we don't want it to be too thin that it would be difficult and might tear. I think this BFC Blue Sports Car would be a good one. Let's have a look. Oh yeah, that's nice and thick. I also kind of like the curvy little lines, but I'm not 100% sure on it. Let's have a look at some others. So I'm looking for something nice and bold and clear. Now I've got one that I use quite a lot, and I was hoping I would be able to find it nice and easily, but I can't, so I'm going to type in the search. And this one is called Atlas Stencils. Let's try searching for Atlas. It is not there. Oh no, have they removed it? Atlas connected, Atlas stencil. Oh, there we have it. So it just wasn't showing under the stencil option for some reason. All right, BFC Atlas stencil is this exact one. I like that. It's nice, bold. It'll be easy to cut. I'm going to have a duplicate that layer and then type out Halloween. So my idea is it will say have a spooky Halloween. Okay, let's go and type out spooky, and spooky won't be a cutout. This will go on top. So we need a different font. And I'm going to search for sports because I've already got a font that I like. Maybe sports car. All right, so it's the non-stencil version of the one I was looking at right at the beginning. This one's just called BFC Blue Sports Car - Connected. And I had my caps locks on when I wrote that, so that's the wrong way around. There we go, that's what we want. Capital S and the rest in lowercase. I like this font because it's nice and bold. I do think it has a kind of Halloween-y vibe to it with all of the swirly bits going on. And then I'll make this a bit bigger so it overlaps a little bit, because this will be cut from a separate bit of card, so I can have it overlapping and that will look really nice and help bring it all together. That can go to one side for now. What I want to do is select my Have A, press Shift on the keyboard, choose Halloween and the base card, and press Align, and then, where is it? Center horizontally. That puts the text exactly in the middle on the left and right, so it looks nice and neat. Now I need to cut these out of the orange. I'm not sure if I can do that while the base is in and attach with the score line, so let's see. Select them, combine and subtract. I think it will let me. It seems to have removed the score line. Okay. That's fine. We'll detach first. So click the base card and detach to remove the score line. We'll add it back on in a minute. And then I'll select my Halloween, Have A, and the orange, and press combine, and then subtract. So that's cut the text out of my front of the card. And then we'll send it to the back, drag a box around that and the score line, and attach it again. And now we'll have to put it to the back again. Okay, so this is what it would be looking like at the minute. Let's change the spooky to black so that it matches the spiderweb. I also want my text to show up black on the Have A and Halloween. So we'll go into Shapes, choose another square. This time make it slightly smaller than the card front, maybe 6.75, and then drag it so it's just bigger than the text. It might need to be a little bit wider as well. And then arrange, center back. So I'll glue that square or rectangle inside my card to fill in the letters. And there we go. I told you this one was going to be quick and easy. So that's the first card done and ready to cut. Here are the pieces of my card cut out and ready to go together. You can see the Cricut cut this beautifully, even though it's a little bit thin in places. That's why I love the Cricut, because it can do those intricate cuts that would be way too hard to try and do by hand. I've got my base card here with the score line down the middle, which is where I'll fold, and then my Have A Halloween cut out, and the black which will go behind it, and then the word spooky will be stuck on top. So everything you just saw on the screen, all now cut out. I'll be putting all the cards in this video together with a combination of glue and foam squares. The glue I'm using is Barely Art Glue, but I also like Kalal. And the reason I like these two glues is they don't bend or wrinkle the card like other glues can do. The foam squares I'm using are from Dot & Dab, but again, any will do. These ones are 2mm thick. I will need to cut these a little bit smaller to fit under my word spooky, but they're really easy to cut with scissors if yours are a little bit big too. Alright, so this is super easy. First up, we're going to fold it down the score line. I've got lots of little bits of black dust and debris from various projects all over my work surface. I've been doing a lot of recording recently for this countdowns, and I think I need a bit of a clean-up session. But anyway, let's fold that down the score line. If you've got a brayer tool or similar, you can go down that score to make it really crisp. There we are. And then first up, I'll glue this on the inside. It'll go right in the middle like that. Even though it's going to be close, I will try and get my glue along the top of that have A and around all these letters here, just to know it will be stuck all the way around. And also a little bit of glue in the middle of the letters and all around them. I don't want to risk them sort of catching when the card comes out the envelope. Although it wouldn't anyway, because this is on the inside, so ignore that. I just completely forgot what I was doing for a moment. If this had been on the front, that would have been important to stop it catching, but as it's on the inside, it won't touch the envelope, so that's not an issue. So yeah, you probably don't need as much glue as I've put on, but up to you. I know it will still catch. Oh goodness. Struggling today. My thinking ability is not working. It might still catch if you don't glue these other bits, because when it comes out the envelope, you'd have the bits all here. That might catch. There we go. I knew I was right. Right the first time. I should have just trusted my initial thoughts. Just trying to get some of those glue smishes out. And then next up, the Spiderweb. I always wonder when I say silly things like that if I should just stop the video and recut everything and start again and say it right, but I left it in. Okay, let's try and redeem myself with the rest of the video. Go for it this way up, and it goes all the way to the edge. Push down gently so the glue doesn't smush out. Like that. Have a Halloween. Super weird. Alright, I'm going to add the word spooky, and you could glue this on. I'm going to use foam squares for a bit of dimension. Got my foam squares and just a normal pair of scissors. Go down a couple of those rows to cut them in half, and then put them on the back of my spooky word. The reason I'd cut them was that I don't want any of the bits of foam to poke out the sides and be visible, otherwise you'll be able to see it when it's stuck on the card, and we don't want that. We want them to be nice and hidden, although it does make them very hard to pick up at this size, which is why it would still look just as good with glue if you don't want to be doing these teeny tiny foam squares. It's probably going to take me a while because they're so small, so I'll speed this bit up. I'm going to stick on the foam squares all the way around, and then when I'm done with that, peel the tops off to reveal the stickiness underneath. Right, that's all done. Now, I'm going to stick it in place. If you gently drop it down to start with, then if you're not happy, you can pick it up again and move it, because it won't have stuck yet. It's just gently placed on there, but I like how that looks, so I'll push it down. And there we go, have a spooky Halloween, very bold in that bright orange and black. I've got the black piece showing through on the inside, and that is a lovely, quick and easy card to make. But now let's go back to Design Space and see how we can use a different one of the border designs for a slightly different card. Now we're on to designing the second card. This time we're going to be using the offset tool. This video is great for if you're new to all the different tools and features in Design Space, because you can give them all a try. I've already created my base card. This is another 5x7 inch card, only this time it's portrait rather than landscape. I've added a scoreline, you just can't see it very well because my purple's quite dark. And the border I'm using this time is the witch hat and cats version. I want this to be the same purple as my card, but if I was to glue that on now, you're not gonna see it. So we need to make some other layers. First up, I want to fill in the stars and moons and buckles and the cat's eyes with some yellow. To do that, let's duplicate the layer, and then the one that's now on the bottom, change it to yellow. Drag a box and press Align Center. Then in the Layers panel, click the yellow layer, which is the bottom one, and then press Contour. Contour lets you fill in gaps on a design. Scroll down to the bottom to see the smallest gaps, which for this one is going to be the cat's eyes. And as you click them, it's kind of hard to see, but it's filling them in. I also want to do the moons, the little buckle pieces, and the stars. I'm just going through, and every time something comes up that looks like it's one of those things, I'm clicking it, and that will fill it in on my layer. Then I can close out of that, and this is what it's done. So it's now filled in those gaps in the hats and the eyes. You can see how that now looks different, which means when I cut that out, it's going to add that little pop of yellow to the background. Now we can start making some extra layers. I'll click on the yellow layer again and then go into Offset. Offset adds a border around your layer. This is a bit thick at the moment. Let's try 0.15. That's still a bit thick, perhaps 0.1. That's better. I'm going to keep the corner curved and press Apply. As we are doing Halloween, I'm going to go for a nice bright green. Now at the moment there's lots of little gaps in here which make it look a bit messy, and also some of them, for instance this teeny tiny one here, will be quite hard for the Cricut to cut. So to fix that, click the layer and then go into Contour again, and this time press Hide All Contours. That's now hidden all of those gaps so they're not appearing anymore. Let's do another border. Click the Offset, press Offset again, and it should remember your same setting. Mine was 0.1. Press Apply. This time the contour window is not available, which means that there aren't any gaps to fill in, which is just fine. I think that's probably enough to go on my card now and look nice. Let's drag a box around everything and group it. And then it's now too tall for my card, so I'll need to resize it back down to 7 inches tall. Make sure the padlock icon's closed when you resize. If yours is open, click it to close it. And then I will have that in the middle of my card. At the minute, this looks a teeny bit messy. I think it'll be easier to show what I mean if I temporarily make that a really light purple. I don't like that it's got this gap of the light purple or the base card showing above and below my design. So let's fix that and make it a teeny bit neater. Ungroup the layers of the border, go into Shapes and choose a square. Then we'll need to zoom in so we can see. I'm going to line that up along where I want to fill in, like that, and then press Arrange, and actually it'll probably be easier to click and drag. Click and drag it down so that it's next to that black layer. And then we'll move it down just the tiniest bit. Note that it's not enough. That's fine. Okay, it can go back up there. Personally, I prefer that look where the black goes all the way to the top, but of course it's completely up to you. I want to do the same on the bottom. So again, drag this, and it can go there. Then I need to select one of those rectangles, press Shift and choose the other one, keep Shift pressed and choose my black, and press Combine and Weld. Weld joins multiple layers into one, so now this is just one piece of cardstock. Drag it back along everything else, and then I'm going to make sure everything is still 7 inches tall. And then put my base card back to the dark purple. I much prefer how that looks with those little filled in bits. And that would be this card all finished and ready to cut. So on our first card, we used the subtract tool and the text tool. On this one, we used the offset tool and the world tool. Here's how to put it together once it's cut out. Here are all the pieces of this card cut out, and for this one I've used white core cardstock for my base, which is quite nice for greetings cards because it means that it's easier to write your message inside when it's white on the other side, but my outside will be this lovely sort of shiny purple, which is lovely. And we'll turn it over and fold in half. Oops, the only slight problem with this is it's really thick. And as you see that I just did, when I said whoops, it can kind of crease a little bit easy. We'll make that the back and then it'll be fine. That side is lovely. We'll go with that for the front. Okay. It also kind of, because it's got the shininess on it, it's showing up my fingerprints. But again, we can rub them all off. I'll get a tissue or something at the end. It'll be fine. Okay. Right. We've got the 4 pieces here. First up, what shall we do? We could either glue everything and then use foam squares on the bottom, or we could glue this one, use foam squares for this one, glue this one, or that one could have foam squares. It's really up to you what you want to do. I think I'm going to glue these two, use foam squares underneath that one, and then glue that one on top. So we'll go for that. But it's your card. You do whatever you want to do. I'll glue this one onto the black. Then foam squares for this one. That's all those teeny tiny foam squares. I had to cut some more smaller ones. Oh, seem to have some stuck to my finger as well. Line it up. I've not quite got that in the middle, but I think it's okay. It's a little closer to the bottom than it is at the top, but it still looks fine. Stick that down. This would make a cute bookmark as well. If you had a hole in the top, you could put a tassel through it. Obviously, you wouldn't want your foam squares, otherwise it'll be too thick, but it's kind of bookmark shaped. There you go, there's another idea for using these Halloween borders. This was also, as you can see, that same purple white core cardstock. And it managed it well, even though it's very thick card and an intricate design. So I was very happy with how that turned out. Dig that down, pushing quite gently because I don't want the glue to smush out onto the yellow bits. There we go. That's how that's looking. And then the whole thing can be glued to the front of my card. Got a little hair in it as well. Because we added the lines of black, it makes it really easy to know it's on straight, which is great. And there we go. Second Halloween card, all finished. And now we're gonna go to Design Space and do another one. For our third and final card, we're putting together everything we've learned so far into one card. So that's weld, offset, text, and subtract. And to put it up one step further, we're going to use 3 separate border designs on one card. This is going to be a side edge card where we'll shape the side of the card around one of the borders. And I'm going to choose this one to go on my edge. Once again, I'll do a 5x7 inch card. So we'll go into shapes, choose a square and make it 5x7 inches. And we'll make it a nice bright colour for now, just so we can see. I want my border to be 7 inches tall so it matches. And position that, you can't see it right now. We'll go arrange, bring to front. Okay, so actually I'm thinking it would need to be a little bit smaller because I want to cut an offset around the edge, which would be the shape of the card. So we'll press offset and probably 0.1 again. That's a little bit thin for this one. 0.15, we'll go for that. Make it a different colour so we can see it easily. Drag a box around both of those and we'll make it 7 inches tall. And group those layers. Drag a box to select the group and the rectangle and press align, align right, and then align, align top. That's positioned it so it's perfectly down this side of the card. We want to keep the green edge around these shapes, but get rid of all of the bits of yellow that are peeking out. So I'll go into shapes, choose another square, and let's go blue this time, a colour we haven't used. I'm going to drag this over all the bits of yellow. If you had it so that you couldn't get the whole thing in one go, you can duplicate and then keep going and make different sized squares or whatever shapes you're doing until you've got it all covered up. If you've got multiple shapes, select them all and press combine, weld to join them into one. Then select your shape, press shift and choose your base card and then press slice. Slice will only appear if you only have 2 layers selected. So if you have more than that, then either weld shapes together if it's the ones that are going down the side, or just make sure you don't have anything else selected that you're not supposed to. Alright, so slice will cut my blue out of the yellow. So I can now delete the blue, and I've got this bit here I can delete. We'll go arrange centre back on the yellow, then select that. Press shift and choose the green. Oh, it's in my group. I need to ungroup it first. So green and yellow. Press combine and then weld, and that will join them together into one layer. If I drag that to the bottom, that's now how my side edge card is starting to look. It's not quite there yet though, because we also need the back of the card. So we will duplicate the front. Then press flip, flip horizontal, and then drag a box around both of those and press align, align top. Use your arrow keys to move the back along until you see a slight gap appearing between the two. It can be easier to zoom in. Alright, once you've got the gap, then go back on yourself to fill the gap in. When you select both of those, the front and the back, your width should be 10 inches exactly or just under. Normally just under is what you'll end up with, and that's just fine. In fact, it works better if it is slightly under. Mine is, it's 9.996. Press combine and weld to join them together. And then we can go arrange, centre back. And that's my card ready to fold, apart from it needs a score line and some text to go down the middle. Alright, score line first. We've already done this before in this video, so I'm going to whiz through it and press align, centre, and then move that back over there. I'm not going to attach the score line yet because I want to cut some text out down the front of the card to say the word Halloween. First up, let's get this on the left. So my idea is we'll have this on the left, then it will say Halloween going down vertically. Then I'm going to join these two together to make up imagery to go on the right. Okay, so that wants to be nice and close to the score line. Then go into text, and the font I'm going to use for this one is called Caslon. Caslon stencil. As it's going to be cut out of the card front, we want another stencil font. And then I'm going to put an enter between each of my letters to spell out Halloween. The gap between them is too much at the moment, so under line space, let's keep clicking. It should probably be easier to type. -5, that seems to work. So all my letters are nice and close. And then needs to be a little bit smaller. might make them slightly wider too. And put that in place. If you want it exactly in the middle vertically, select that, press Shift and choose the score line and the base card and press Align Center vertically. Then I'm going to select my text and the card, and just like we did for the first card, press Combine and Subtract. And now that's cut that wording out. Arrange Center Back. And now that we've done the subtract, we can select the score line as well and combine, oops, sorry, not combine, attach. And then send it back to the back. And let's add a colour behind the words. I'm going to go for orange, I think. My base card won't end up being yellow. I just did that because it was nice and bright and easy to see. So we need the rectangle to be bigger than the text, but not bigger than the front of the card. And then arrange center back. And that'll be glued inside. Okay, nearly there, but I want to join these together to make a little bit of extra decoration. I think this would look nicer facing the other way. So flip horizontal, that works better. And then position them so that they're touching. The swirls and the bats are going into the pumpkins. I'll select both of them, and I'm not sure if this will work, but we'll try. Arrange, center vertically. Yeah, that looks nice. And then combine and weld to join them into one. So now this will cut as one bit of card. And let's go for a green for these pictures. Green. And then the base card, I'm going to go for another purple. Okay, it's not letting me change the colour. Probably because it's in a subtract. So this is going to be a bit long-winded. We'll need to first detach the score line. Then, well, let me do it now. Well, let me do it if I select the whole thing. Okay. What colour do we want? Let's go for a purple. And then attach it to the score line again. Maybe I didn't need to detach it. Maybe I could have just, I could have just clicked the group there. My mistake was I was trying to click the individual layer instead of the whole subtract. I'm still learning things too. And then that needs to go to the back. And there we go. There's our third card ready to cut. We've used a lot on this. We've used weld, subtract, slice, offset, text, flip, resizing stuff. I think that's probably it. And attach. Did I say attach? I can't remember. Anyway, lots of different tools all on one card. Let's get it cut out and then put together. Third and final card for this video is now all cut out. You can see again the Cricut did an awesome job at all those details. Got my side edge card and fold that down the score line. There we are. And down it with a brayer. Open it up and add the orange on the inside. Okay, my glue's got a bubble on it. Not quite sure what's going on there. Can I just pop it? There we are. That's probably my own silly fault for leaving the lid off for too long. My orange strip goes over the top. There we go, that looks good. Let's push down a little bit more from this side. Some of my glue is smushing out a little bit. Use a weeding tool to move away any excess. Just remember to wipe your tool clean with a tissue or something. Damp J-cloth works well, or a microfiber cloth. Before the glue dries, just to keep your weeding tool nice and clean and glue free. That looks better. Okay, we got everything glued on this one because it's a little bit too intricate for the foam squares with all the cutouts. Be great for making lots of cards the same sort of style because they won't cost a lot to post as they'll be fairly flat. Gently pushing down. Again, I don't want my glue to smush out if I can help it. Oh, I love these colours. I've used a textured card as well for the green and the purple. I didn't have any orange in the same style, so that's a bit different. I think the texture helps bring it together a little bit. That looks so effective, that colour, that pop of lime green on the purple. And then the other side. This one we need to be a bit more careful when sticking it down to make sure it's going to line up nicely with the side. Okay. My bet is coming up a little bit where I haven't got any glue right in the bottom. Now that's definitely going to smush out because there's too much on it now. I'll just hold it in place a little moment. But once I've done that and that's all dry, that'll be my third and final Halloween card made with these border designs, all finished. I hope you enjoyed this video on how to use these Halloween themed borders in your greetings card designs while taking the opportunity to get to know some of the tools, buttons and features within Cricut Design Space. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel for loads more Cricut crafts and greetings card inspiration. I hope to see you tomorrow for day 10 of the Halloween craft countdown, but for now, thank you so much for watching. Bye!